Marvel and DC are crossing over again. Yes, the ComicsPRO Retailer Summit dropped a bunch of bombs, and we've got a little roundup for you.
Captain America versus Dr. Doom. A new creative team are diving into Cap's lost years with a brand new Marvel run. Get all the details.
And Basketful of Heads is heating up. What? Prices are rising after the big Natasha Lyonne news. Should you be grabbing a copy before it's too late? Find out about all this stuff and more on a new episode of Bronze About. What was that? Hi, Richard.
Hey, John. How you doing?
Good. Hey, you out there. Hi. Thanks for joining. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Bronze and Modern Gods. You miss out on some fun stuff during the week that we post. We had a live sale on Friday nights. Got to see a lot of familiar faces out there. But let's get right into it, Richard. Comic book news. Dun, 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 dun. Well, we haven't used this in a while. Here's our old breaking news thing we used to use all the time. So ComicsPRO is a big retailer summit that happens every year. I have been out of touch for the last few years, but there's been a lot of news out of it. I guess because it's here in Southern California this year. I'm hearing more. Marvel and DC have announced they're doing more crossovers again.
That's exciting. I always enjoy when they do crossovers, to be honest with you.
They say it's happening in 2025. They did not announce what characters. They did not announce what creative teams. They announced that one is going to be called Marvel and DC, published by Marvel, and the other one's going to be called DC and Marvel, published by Charlton.
By Charlton?
I'm sorry, DC. Yes. So just very vague, but apparently papers are signed and it's happening. What are you looking forward to? What clashes do you want?
Oh, I would love to see something. Let's not do Superman. Let's do some other characters and bring them together. Not Wolverine. I know they're big sellers and that's a big draw, but something that will make this stand out. That's what I would hope for.
Ultimate meets Absolute.
That would be pretty cool, even though it just dissuades everything I just said. Maybe that's why, maybe that's an interesting Venn diagram, the two of those getting together.
I mean, it seems kind of like a no-brainer. The two best-selling titles from each company at the moment.
Still would love to see just some B-listers get to meet their opposites in the other universe.
I mean, I would love to see some old school creators handle old school versions of characters, like Kurt Busiek do another JLA Avengers meeting where, since poor George Perez is gone, maybe Phil Jimenez, who's the world's preeminent George Perez imitator, can draw it.
That's a good point. I mean, a lot of these artists and writers are getting, in their senior years, it's an opportunity to get them in front of a new audience. So.
Claremont, X-Men.
Yeah, that would be cool.
X-Men meets Sovereign 7.
Okay, that's a little unbalanced, but
I don't think anybody would be interested in that. Okay, so DC also announced Batman is relaunching yet again with an issue 1 written by Matt Fraction and drawn by Jorge Jimenez in September of this year.
It's inevitable. It's coming. They reboot these when a new creative team comes in, so they have a sort of clean slate. I don't know. How are you feeling about this?
I haven't read Batman in years. I couldn't give a bat guano about it. But it's just, as a Batman fan, I bet you guys, longtime Batman fans, aren't you frustrated with the continual number ones? I mean, as a Cap fan, I'm continually upset with Cap relaunching over and over.
Yeah, it's a marketing tool that these companies use because number one sell, so they tend to reboot to get more number ones through the course of these series. It's better than having comics get to issue 400 or 500 and not get that jolt of extra sales that you get with a number one.
In completely unrelated news, Captain America is relaunching with a new #1 in July. Written by Chip Zdarsky and drawn by Valerio Schiti.
I'm not familiar with Valerio. Have you seen his work before?
Yeah. I forget what he's drawn, but decent stuff. The opening arc takes place in the past, so
Okay.
it's between the time when Cap is revived from suspended animation, but before he joins the Avengers, which makes zero sense because if anybody with any history and knowledge knows in Avengers 4, they revive Cap in the submarine. The Avengers do. They find him, and he immediately joins the Avengers in that issue.
Yeah, so maybe a little play with creative freedom. I don't know. I like Chip's work. Chip has always been a solid writer, so let's see.
Richard, I saw this piece of art and I thought of you immediately. Do you recognize the old Bring On the Bad Guys trade paperback from the 70s?
Yes, I do. That is cool. I am appalled by the trade dress and the font, but other than that, I can't. That is awesome.
It is a new 7-part event for 2025 from Marvel called Bring On the Bad Guys. Kind of looks like a little Acts of Vengeance kind of thing with all the major villains, all the major players teaming up, but with Mephisto.
Yeah, that's going to be great. I love villain stories, so that's going to be awesome.
And let's wrap up our Comics Pro coverage with the most important news to come out of Comics Pro. Bad Idea Comics is joining Lunar Distribution.
I thought you were going. That is monumental. But I thought you were going to mention the Harlequin.
Oh, the Harley Quinn fart scented comic that's coming out.
Yes, it is an actual thing. I thought for sure
not
it
a
was.
Joke, people. Not a joke.
It is not a joke. They had to come out and say this is not a joke. I don't know where this is going. I don't know who asked for this, but DC is bringing it to us.
Imagine being a retailer, getting your shipment and opening that box.
And every comic in the box smells like farts.
And your entire store smells like that book. I mean, I'm not a retailer, but I'm offended for retailers already.
Mhm.
Did the retailers rise up like voters in congressional districts this week?
Do you remember the Ren and Stimpy issue years back where they?
Oh, yeah. With the air freshener, the scratches.
Right.
Yeah, at least that wasn't a poly bag though. I guess it has to come in a poly bag.
It's got to.
I don't want to twist the knife, but I laughed so hard when I saw Bad Idea joining Lunar for distribution because that was their whole thing. Is like we're invite only. If you're a comic shop, you have to beg for us to give you our books, and you have to subscribe if you want. Ha 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 ha!
To me, Bad Idea was a marketing company, and now come to the reality that you actually have to sell comics to stay in business. So I see this transition to a normal distributor as being just a part of their progression. So,
well, at least they've learned their lesson, and they're not relying on stupid marketing stuff. Oh, wait, breaking news, Richard. They're having an event here in LA tonight at a local comic shop where you can get one of only 10 exclusives of the new comic drawn by Bill Sienkiewicz, by the way.
Oh.
All you have to do is get a tattoo of the comic insignia at this event. So 10 people will be stupid enough to get a tattoo in order to get.
Again, Bad Idea. They're perfectly named.
I don't even know what to say. Let's move on to our hot book of the week. Richard, am I losing my mind? We just talked about this book last week, did we not?
Yes, we did. I brought this book up as one of my show and tell books. This is Basketful of Heads #1, DC Black Label back in 2019. There's an increase in copies sold this week because of versus the previous week because of the announced Natasha Lyonne attachment. She's going to star and produce in an adaptation of this series.
Oh, that's not why there's an increase of copies sold. There's an increase because Richard mentioned it on our show last week. Let's get it right.
Raws are about around 7. It's not an expensive book. The series is not very long. I think it's 6 issues. It's a good series. I mean, it's a good story. And yeah, we were talking about during our live stream. If you can pick this up, all of it, I think, very reasonably. And like I said, it's a good read if you actually want to read as opposed to just buy.
It's a good reason to become a member and join our live streams because they were tipped off to this last week before all this announcement took place, all this hubbub. Speaking of hubbub, if you are in Tennessee, specifically Jackson, Tennessee, you know what I'm going to tell you about. It's the Jackson Comic Expo, March 1st, next week, people. Can you believe it's March already?
Wow.
You got Aaron Bartling from DC and Marvel. You got Jay Leiston from DC and Marvel. You got Carla Perez, aka Rita Repulsa from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Vendors with lots of comics, anime, tabletop games, Pokemon, anything pop culture and collectibles, along with an exclusive Swamp Thing art print limited to just 75 copies by Aaron Bartling. You can only get at the Jackson Comic Expo, March 1st at the Carl Perkins Civic Center in Jackson, Tennessee. Hit this QR code while you listen to Blue Suede Shoes by Carl Perkins, and you go to his Civic Center for the Jackson Comic Expo. I feel like some show and tell. I got some good stuff. You ready?
Yep.
All right. I have zero theme, except, well, I guess there's a little theme. They're all good comics. How's that? This book has a weird title. It's called Special War Series, but it's the first appearance of Judo Master.
Oh.
They'd taken an old title and just repurposed it, in that Charlton way.
Okay. I was going to ask what association is there between Judo Master and war stories?
Nothing. Does it take place in World War II?
Well, I see the military figure being tossed there in the upper right corner.
But yeah, so this is the first appearance of Judo Master. This was a hot book for a little bit a couple of years ago. It was because of Peacemaker. Was there a character Judo Master in Peacemaker?
Yes.
Okay, still not watch Peacemaker, everybody.
You'd like it. You'd like it. Trust me.
I'm sure I would, but for all the wrong reasons.
Yes, and that's what I was alluding to.
Look, I've seen all the underwear shots, so do I need to watch it? What is your first show and tell book?
All right, I was going to celebrate Black History Month.
Oh, is it this month? The shortest month of the year?
Shortest month of the year, and while we have it, but I couldn't find my third book. My third book was going to be Static Shock. This Static number 45, the last issue of the Static series. So I have a placeholder fill in for it, but of course I have to bring up my All Negro Comics number one. There was only one. It's the lowest grade book I have in my collection at a point.
Why is it a 0.5?
It's missing the centerfold.
Okay. And is it brittle pages?
It is brittle pages. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So
find another one, folks.
This is tough. There's about 50 books on the census, and obviously all of them are higher grade than this one, but this is the one I could afford. The books that are up on eBay, for example, are going for 20 grand plus, and that's just more money than I'm willing to put into it. But this is the first African American book published by African Americans with African American stories. And issue 2 never came out. Supposedly because they would not sell them the paper to actually print it.
Thank you, South.
Yeah, apocryphal, but given the climate, I'm not sure I disagree with that particular story. But I got it slabbed, so I have not read this particular copy. But there's digital copies online, and there's a variety of interesting stories, from kids stories to adult stories to detective stories. It's a real gamut of different genres. But it's impressive given it was 1947. This book came out.
It has the back cover, right?
Yeah, it has an infinity cover on the back.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You see copies of the book there that have copies of the book, etc.
Isn't that one character considered the first African American superhero?
Yes, I think his name is Lion. This gentleman right here, in the corner. And he can be considered the first, or at least the prototype for the first. So
You know, guys, it's 15 cents when every other comic was 10 cents at the time. If I can be Nat X for a minute, it's because the man wouldn't let you have a book for 10 cents.
It's a tough environment. 1947 is a difficult environment for African American minorities in general. It's not unexpected.
Richard, at least we've solved that problem. Okay, my next book is Warlord 45. That was a joke, by the way. I just love the cover. I mean, we've been having a lot of Mike Grell love on the live streams lately. Yeah. So just a little bit more Mike Grell love. Nice little unicorn you're riding there. And look, it's got an OMAC backup. You can't go wrong with an OMAC backup.
Did he do the interior art as well?
Yeah, he's still on the book at this point. But he's getting ready to leave in a few issues. I think issue 50 was his last the last issue he drew. I know he kept writing it. Actually, it was his wife that was ghostwriting it for him under his name for the last year or two that he was being credited on the book. So I believe her name is Sharon Grell. So good on you, Sharon Grell, because it was good stories while she was writing it. So good for her.
Awesome.
What do you got?
My next book is a book that I bought from you years ago. Lobo #2.
That's not Lobo. Where's Jason Momoa?
Yeah, this particular series had 2 issues. So we've increased from the single issue of All Nero Comics to 2 issues for Lobo before it was canned because
thank you, South.
Yeah, pretty much. And it featured a black, a black lead character there. You see Lobo there on my left. And yeah, I've got issue #2. I have not found an issue #1 for a reasonable amount of money. This is 1966, so we've stepped forward a couple decades, but there's still the same kinds of issues. I think comics like this highlight the age that they were created in and the challenges, and those challenges are still there in the mid 60s, hence the civil rights movement. But so this book stands out prominently as a key African American title.
We got to give Dell credit for doing that in 1966, and not only that, a black cowboy. There's no such thing.
Yeah, like an African American could win a country music award.
Wait, what? All right, I'm showing this for no reason except that it ties into a big discussion, an overall discussion we've been having about the spiraling cost of comic books. $3.99, $4.99, $5.99. Archer and Armstrong #8 from 1992, $4.50.
Wow, wow.
What? I just saw this and I was like, I saw the cover price. I was like, holy free holies.
Is it a big book? Is it 32 pager? Or?
I think it is double sized. I don't think it's a regular 32 pager. I think it happens to be a double sized comic. But yeah, I was January.
That's crazy for
March 92 and Barry Windsor Smith. And for some reason, boy, they were asking $4.50 for this issue.
Wow. That's a Barry Windsor Smith cover?
Barry Windsor Smith cover and art inside the whole thing.
They went for Journeyman. Okay.
Well, he created Archer and Armstrong. He was the main guy. He drew Unity. He did a lot of work for Jim Shooter. He liked Jim Shooter, so he did a lot of Valiant work. You get some really nice very BWS stuff in Valiant. $4.50 back in 92.
Crazy. Yeah.
And think about how much Valiant was selling. So they were like raking it in, man. That's nuts. What's your last book?
My last book, we've talked about Spider-Gwen. We're going to talk about Spider-Gwen more today. Here is Spider-Gwen #25. I typically don't like homage covers, but I really, really like this one. You've got Gwenome, which is the symbiote version of Spider-Gwen on the top, and there's Spider-Gwen at the bottom, redoing that famous Todd cover. I just love this cover, and it also does the corner box, which is something that this era, which is what 2018,
Mhm.
we had gotten out of doing corner boxes. So this is really calling back to that original feel of the ASM issue. So
Nice. Show us the back cover. Yeah, there you go. That's a good run of Cap.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris Amony. I love that run. Oh, sorry. It has nothing to do with Spider-Gwen. I just remember that run. Hey, if you want more show and tell like this, more conversation, support the show, become a member right here for the cost of $2.99 a month, less than an issue of Archer and Armstrong in 1992. You get extra show and tell episodes on Wednesdays. You get live members only streams where you can be a guest and show off your collections on Thursdays. You get shout outs. Wow, look at him go. It's the Flash. Go, Wally West. In fact, it ups Richard and I go to more shows and provide more coverage in 2025. Just hit join here on YouTube next to the subscribe button. Or if you're on a podcast, there's a link in that description as we pivot to your viewer mail.
You've got mail.
Richard, start us off.
My first piece of viewer mail is from Brian Tidwell. And Brian says, highly recommend spending as much time with Chaykin, we're talking about Howard Chaykin, as you can. I often refer to him as the most interesting man in the world. He can talk to anyone about anything, though he does tend to dominate the conversation. I wish I had spent time. We saw him at California Comic-Con. He was busy, and John and I just didn't make it over. I don't know why. We were both there both days, and we never made it over.
He was swamped all day.
And waiting in line is not neither one of our fortes. But you know, it reminds me. You say he's interesting and talkative. It reminds me of Jim Shooter because he was the same qualifications. Shooter can talk your ear off, and he has stuff to say. I mean, he has such a history.
Interview we ever did. Just turn on the mic and say, "Tell us something."
Right. And the stories he had were amazing. I'm assuming Chaykin has. I know he has this. The same kind of depth of history in the comic industry. So I promise the next time I'm at a show with Chaykin, I will actually get something signed by and have a chance to talk to him.
I should bring my Blackhawk. Bo on the Go is talking about Rob Liefeld versus Marvel, which we discussed. Hey guys, thanks for all the great content. Y'all are easily my favorite comic show on YouTube. Thank you, Bo.
Thank you.
Rob Liefeld is definitely a never meet your hero scenario for me. I love his art. It's just cool, even as outrageous and really bending as it is. His drawing for me has always had an energy and dynamism that I couldn't get enough of. If I could draw, I would want it to be like Liefeld. However, after watching him several times on Whatnot and listening to his podcast, I've come to the sad realization that my hero is a self-important, arrogant blowhard. Every time I try to watch him, I just end up shaking my head and turning him off because his self-congratulations are so over the top. So I can totally see why Feige, whatever, was like, oh, good grief, not this guy again. They totally put his name on the restaurant in the film. You can't miss it, but that's not enough for him. I think Marvel and Feige have done more than enough to shine some spotlight on Liefeld. But when you're the center of your own universe, I imagine the quota for ego stroking gets pretty high. Still love his art, still love all he's done for the hobby. But I still disappointed that he can't mix in just the smallest amount of humility. Bo, it's insecurity.
You think?
It's insecurity from being ragged on, but we rag on him. He can't draw feet. Here's some smoke and rubble to cover the legs. Don't know how to draw, blah, blah. It's insecurity. The guy's been beat up for going on 40 years. So a former boss / coworker I had said, if you don't toot your own horn, no one else is going to toot it for you. Artists are like that. Some artists are very insecure. They need to put themselves out there and remind people of their accomplishments because love him or hate him, Rob Liefeld has accomplishments. He created probably one of the few heroes from the 90s to still be published today. You don't see Darkhawk on issue 360.
Image Comics. I mean,
He named the company. He created the logo. He had the germ of the idea. Now, you make a good point about his Whatnot streams and his podcast. He likes the same stuff we do. He's one of us. He really is. He's Gen X. He likes the same books. He grew up in the same era. I try listening to his podcast and I want to scream sometimes because it's like, dude, self-edit, get to the point. But you just got to take it. You just got to take it if you like Rob. Let's say he's the biggest jerk in the world. Let's say he's just so arrogant and full of himself. So too bad, Marvel. You still have to give him creator credit. You still have to say created by Rob Liefeld and Fabian Nicieza. It started the film before the producer credit, before the director credit, period. It doesn't matter how much of a jerk he is. You got to show him some respect.
Didn't they do that for Deadpool?
They get little tiny thank yous. I don't know what they did with Deadpool. I know the Fox treated him better and gave him some sort of significant credit in the credit sequence. And he asked for the same for the Disney Deadpool and Wolverine and didn't get a reply apparently and got like a little thing in the credits. So I'm with him. If you created something, you need to be credited for it, period.
I agree. He deserves kudos for the character. Without him, Deadpool wouldn't exist, and all that money Marvel made would not be there either. So a little courtesy towards him pays dividends. He's not blabbing about Marvel on his podcast, for example. It's a typical thing. Yeah, he is definitely insecure. And it is a trend for a lot of artists, but at the same time, you've got to realize that you are a small part of. You may be the creator, but I don't think he wrote the story for had any involvement in that. I don't think he had any creative direction in the movie. He was the creator, and he deserves to be acknowledged as such. But that part is overall for this movie a small part of the entire package.
You have executives who want to be stars, and the music industry used to be rife with them. I mean, Whitney was the star. Why is Clive Davis all over the place? Okay, great. He signed her, he A&R'd her, whatever. Step aside, buddy. No one wants to see that wig. So I kind of get the sense with DC as well. It's like, hey, we're the important ones. You guys go over to your little comic books over there and leave us alone. What is your next piece of viewer mail?
My next piece is from a friend of the show, Julius Maloney. So I've been intrigued by Vampirella since coming across her sexy covers at my LCS as a kid. And funnily enough, I spent COVID collecting an entire Vampirella run from Warren to Harris to Dynamite. There are 675 issues. Oh my goodness. Legacy numbering according to Dynamite of the mainline title. I read all the collected Warren, I finished Harris, and I'm now on to Dynamite and have pretty much everything, including miniseries. And my goal of 2025 is to have read the entire Vampy's adventures to date.
Is this just one story?
I am intrigued, Julius. Yeah, give us a summation of 675 issues. I mean, is it a various number of stories, or is it just opportunities for Vampirella to parade around in that skimpy little costume she wears? Thank you, Richard, for the Vampirella love. I talked about it in one of our shows. Funnily enough, I'm about to start on the Scarlet Legion series, which is the book that I highlighted. Yeah, Julius, I am really curious. I have collected Vampirella over the years because, beautiful Dave Stevens cover or a gorgeous J. Scott Campbell cover. It's mainly for the covers, as I think a lot of the audience who buys Vampirella focuses on. I am dying to know the quality of the stories from 675 issues.
I'm gonna stop. Dynamite. I haven't read them. They got Christopher Priest writing Vampirella now. I'm tempted.
Wow.
I love Priest, so I'm
Mhm.
tempted after my comments last week. I'm actually tempted.
Yeah, let us know what you think of the stories, Julius, and I'd love to know.
My next piece of your mail comes from our friend Jesse Ambrose. Hi, Jesse. Hey, love the show and always dig your music references. I commented on your Stone Roses shirt a few shows back, and I must say a psychedelic furs comment in this context brings me to ask your thoughts on Love and Rockets, the band. Were you already reading the book and tripped when the band started, considering it came from the ashes of the furs? Love the show. It's my fave, hands down. Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you.
I got to correct you, though. Love and Rockets, the band, came from the ashes of Bauhaus, not the psychedelic furs. So little minor correction there. I love the furs, obviously. I love and Rockets. I was reading Love and Rockets when Love and Rockets, the band, started. And if you look in the book, there was a band in the comic called Love and Rockets, with Hopi was the bass player.
Mhm.
And no, it was a different band. There was a different band called Love and Rockets. I forget who the kids were. And they were really mad that this other band started and stole their name. So it was kind of a meta commentary from the Hernandez brothers about the band. Personally, I love Express is one of my favorite albums of all time, Richard.
I am not a huge Love and Rockets fan.
Exactly. That's why I threw it to Richard. Go ahead. Give me the John U.
John, you ignorant slut.
Thank you.
I just not warm now. Now there are a number of songs that I do like, but they are few and far between. I can't say that I have enjoyed their catalog. It just never really resonated with me.
I love Express. I love half of Earth, Sun, Moon. I do not like anything after that. The self-titled record was So Alive. It's So Alive it's the best T-Rex song they ever did.
Oh, that's rough. Yeah, So Alive is a good song. I like that
It's
song.
T-Rex. It's not
It
even.
is.
It's
It's
not.
T-Rex.
There's zero originality there.
Yeah.
But Express with Kundalini Express, All in My Mind, Yin Yang, the Flower Pot Man, that album, front to back, dude.
No.
Stop.
Psychedelic Furs. I love the P Furs. They eclipse Love and Rockets by a huge margin in my
I
eyes.
have to agree. Forever Now is one of my favorite albums too.
Yeah.
Talk is a great album. Dumb Waiters is the most bizarre single ever with a screeching saxophone. All right, comic books. Richard, what is your next piece of viewer mail?
My next piece is from Zach Brobst. And he
Speaking
says,
of Love and Rockets.
yeah, speaking of Love and Rockets, LMAO, I was wondering if that Spider-Gwen variant would make it onto your radar. Love and Rockets number 24 is certainly an homage worthy cover. Can't say I love Lee Garbett's interpretation, but it was worth a shot, in my opinion. And he's
Yeah,
talking
I'm
about
brave.
this shit. Yeah. It's I mean, yeah, I mean, it's obviously from the colors to the subject matter, it's obviously an homage, although it's not a direct homage. John mentioned this is from the front as opposed to the back. And you've got Loki there as the front man. It's still a good cover. I love anybody who has the stones to try to draw Jaime Hernandez. The story itself is good. If you are interested in the story, the interior art is good as well.
Hmm.
But yeah, this is a variant cover, yeah, of this issue. So this is not the A cover. I bought it totally because of the cover. I saw it on the newsstand,
Go ahead
and
and hold that up. Look at that weak ass paper.
oh, it's horrible. It is wafer thin, and for use um, Monty Python lovers, it is. And you could just see the warpage in the cover. This is right off the press, right from my LCS, and the cover paper is as thick as the interior paper. It's terrible.
So when you think Garbett turned that cover in, do you think anybody at Marvel got the reference?
I doubt it.
So do I. I bet you're probably like, wow, this guy's brilliant. Did you see this cover he drew? It's fantastic. And the
Yeah.
coloring he suggested for it?
I had, it would have been nice if he put like a little after Jaime Hernandez on the cover somewhere just to indicate he was giving some credit to the original artist. That's the one
And
thing I miss on this.
it also, because it's that angle, you miss the really incredible thing about the original, which is the reaction of the crowd and the
Right.
different faces and all the emotions that are going with the crowd. So it's kind of cute but pointless. How's that?
Yeah, yeah, and the original one, you get the feeling of the the analog rawness of stage presence back, in that time period. There was no computers. You basically plugged your amp in and you went on stage, and that's what you did. And the audience was just as analog. There weren't cell phones for people shooting videos of everything. It's a raw, visceral experience during the concerts.
Every YouTube comment. Look at the crowd enjoying the moment. Not a cell phone in sight. No social media.
None.
That
It's funny how it's ruined concert going nowadays.
Yeah, well, that original Love and Rockets cover. I mean, how many shows have you and I been to in our youth where it was like that, where you're at the Peabody's Down Under watching the Dead Milkmen from 2 rows back, pressed up against the stage, and there's a girl trying to cut in front of you. Excuse me, because she wants to get to the front. And the lead singer, Roddy Anonymous, jumps off stage, lands on your head, and breaks your glasses. True story. True story.
Yeah, all kinds of. I mean, yeah, I remember chicken wire around the stage for
Ministry.
Ministry. Yeah, it was a raw experience. I'm not saying you don't get that still now, but I think
You and I, we thought we were going to die at that Ministry show.
yeah, they got the pit got to be the mosh pit got to be pretty dangerous. I would not go close to that.
Life flashed before my eyes. That and believe it or not, I saw Morrissey once that I thought I was gonna die because of the crowd. Yeah, the danger. My last piece of viewer mail comes to us from Jeff Booth. When I mentioned trying to get a full run of The Trouble with Girls last week, John, I don't think you'll ever find a good copy of The Trouble with Girls number 24 because the series only went up to number 23. Jeff, you were absolutely correct. I got my numbers confused. I have 22. I cannot find a decent copy of 23.
Oh,
Is the
okay. Well, I'm
so,
glad you weren't looking for a white whale.
no, I was not searching in vain. I knew it ended with that with the issue
Mhm.
that it ended with. It just I got the numbers wrong. But thank you, Jeff. I'm glad we gave you a good chuckle there. If you want to rib me in person, why don't you meet me in Queens, New York at the Elite_Comics 11 Expo, March 8th and 9th. It is in Queens, New York. It's an in-person show. You've got tons of dealers that you know and love from those live sales that Elite_Comics 11 does on Instagram. They're all going to be there in person with great prices. You got Vincent D'Onofrio, aka the Kingpin, doing some signings there with CGC Witness as well, if you want to get some yellow label stuff happening. Again, Elite_Comics 11 Expo, Queens, New York. I will be there with Evan, March 8th and 9th. See us there. More information, go to Elite_Comics 11 on Instagram, right?
Yep. He's also Bobby on Law and Order.
Yes, that's true.
That to me was his crowning role.
Dun, dun.
I loved him in that. He was eccentric and it was just great. If you haven't watched it, watch.
God, you've been watching that show, I think, for more than 25 years. It is the 25-year rule. Segway. What do you got?
Segway. I pick for this time Batman Beyond number 4, not the limited series, the 6-issue limited series, but the actual run comic. This is came out in February of 2000, which is kind of why I picked it. The original series ran for 24 issues, and it's the first appearance of Melanie Walker, who was a love interest for Terry, who is the 21st century Batman. Terry McGinnis is takes the role of Batman when the original Batman is too infirm to be able to do it. He has a heart condition and is unable to take up the role. So he invents this super suit, and Terry, who is a troubled teenager, fills the role. He's kind of a combination of Robin and Batman at the same time. I really love the character. I love combining Batman's angst along with the teenager who has their own set of angst. And Terry really fills that role, Batman being the mentor. This issue features the Royal Flush Gang, who is a really interesting group that has a very convoluted history.
They were JLA villains.
Yes, and they came. It's bizarre because there's brothers and sisters and parents, and boy, the last incarnation, which is this one, is a crime family of four who ends up having twin brothers and sisters that take their place, and it's just bizarre. It's a bizarre story. I can't say that it makes a whole lot of sense, but I've always loved the love interest, and the tension between Melanie Walker, who is number 10 there in his arms, and you see number 10 also coming at him. I love the tension between her attraction to Terry and her dedication to her crime ridden family. Great story. They are featured in a couple issues or a couple episodes of Batman Beyond, the television series, which is the source of this particular comic. Television series is awesome. It's one of the few series that I have watched from first episode to last episode multiple times. It is that good. And as most DC animated series, they do such a good job at the artwork and the stories. Even if you're an adult like me, you will enjoy Batman Beyond, the TV show. This book is not necessarily very, very valuable. You can get raws on eBay right now for about $9. High grade slabs, though, can go up to $120. So it's something that if you like the series, I would get the raws and then maybe slab the issues that you think are important to you. But I would forego the slabs on this series. Although I might, if you get the original limited 6 series, that might be something that's slab worthy.
Yeah, I wouldn't. But these are tough because they were kids' books.
Yeah,
air quotes. So they were read, loved, and thrown on the floor. So good luck finding high grade copies, even at $9. Speaking of tough books and high grade, let's move to the underrated books of the week. And yours is a toughie, but I'll let you talk about it.
Mine is Demon #1 from DC back in 1972. I have always loved this cover. It's an original Kirby cover. You've got Etrigan, who is the demon, in red against his yellow skin, and to me, no one can draw this character like Kirby draws him, and with the angles and the shadows and the depth of, he really gives the character life. And so I think it's one of the classic Kirby covers, but it's reasonable. I mean, you can buy a raw copy of this book. It's a 1972 book. It's first appearance of a character for about $40. And it's not going to be a high grade book, but it's still going to be a decent. I buy these whenever I see them in that box. That's not the $5 box, and it's not the box.
Always in the box on the table. It says wall books.
Yes,
it never makes it to the wall.
It never does.
It's there as the backup.
You can get near mint, higher grade copies for $250. CGC does a 9.6 at about $1,250 was the last sale.
That's what I want to talk about. 9.4 and above, a ghost, a demon. This book is a demon in 9.4 and above, and we've had some anecdotal stories here when we've talked about this book before on the podcast. People leaving comments that yes, there's something going on with the paper stock this month on this book that really keeps it out of those high grades.
Yeah, I have personally never seen a high grade copy of this book.
Mhm.
And I hope if DC ever gets their act together in terms of making another Constantine movie. I loved the Constantine movie. I don't know if that's an exception to the rule. I love the god, the horror aspect that DC has a huge depth of stories around. If they ever get their acts together and stop chasing necessarily the superhero aspect of their catalog and focus on that dark horror, I think Demon would be awesome. It would be a great story. You could bring Constantine in it. Morgan Le Fay is in it. You've got a lot of original characters around this character that I think would make a really really cool movie, and I would be first in line to see it.
What happened to that Justice League Dark project that was
Yeah, right.
bandied about? Did that just die off with the James Gunn era? It's funny you picked this because I'm in the same era, the 70s horror revival of all these books. Marvel jumped in with something a little more of a copycat of what DC was also doing. ARG #1 from 1974. This is Marvel's attempt at blending humor and comedy in an anthology format. Definitely an answer to Plop over at DC that had started a year prior and was very successful for DC. So Marvel, I think, wanted to get into the game. It featured work from Roy Thomas, Maurice Severin, Tom Sutton, a lot of Tom Sutton and Mike Sekowsky in these issues. This issue also features a Bill Everett reprint from the Crazy comic from the 1950s that has a little picture of a vampire and his girlfriend in the splash page, and they renamed the vampire Barnabas and the girlfriend Angelique.
Really? I didn't know that.
Just making it contemporary, I guess. ARG poked fun at all the classic horror tropes, monsters, and even a little bit of the comic book industry itself. It only lasted 5 issues, though, so it's definitely a Marvel Bronze Age niche comic. This is beautiful. I think this is definitely a 9.6. I'd have to really work on it to see if I can get it to a 9.8. I'm lazy, but I see a lot of high grade copies of this book. I don't know if there was a warehouse find or something, but issue 1 I see a lot at shows. I don't see 3, 4, and 5. Rarely. I have them. I have a full set, but it took me a long time to find an issue 4. This is fairly affordable in upper grades. The raws sell for about $15. So if you want one, they're not tough. Do you ever see this before? Ever heard of this book?
No, I read Plop. I've got a high grade Plop #1.
Mm.
I can't really say that I've read. I
It is the same kind of thing. It's like, here's a horror story about a vampire who goes to New York and gets his fangs knocked out by a mugger. So how's he going to eat? And he ends up getting dentures. Spoiler.
He doesn't go to the Red Cross and start drinking out of.
No, but it does have a few panels that I can't believe got past the comic code, where he's like, he runs into his face is in a woman's bosom, literally and I'm like, this is 1974 and the comics code passed that. Did anybody actually review this book? So that's a reason to buy it right there. I think. Hey, thanks for joining us. All you members, we'll see you on Wednesday and Thursday. Everyone else, we will catch you next Monday. Richard will be here at the end of this week. We're going to Palm Springs.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Can't wait.
Say it.
Okay. Everybody, stay safe.